So the first race, race 301 is underway. It's the final of the under-17 women's double scull scratch lane 1. Lane 2, Kentish, Sarah Haas and Sarah Russell. Kentish, the new club in Tasmania, based in Sheffield. I imagine it must be some sort of club rooms in Sheffield, but obviously they'd be training on Lake Barrington. Hewan also from Tasmania in 3. Stewart Home in lane 4, University of Queensland, Rockhampton Grammar in 5, Toowong in 6, Kinross Wallaroi in 7 and 8.
And you can see up on the screen there, the double sculls here are already well underway, right on time at 8 o'clock in race 301, the opening race of day 5 of the 2018 Aon Sydney International Rowing Regatta, a field of 7 with just that one scratching from lane 1. And as mentioned, just a few minutes to go. A couple of crews to watch out for here, racing in lanes 5 and 6. The top 4, in fact, from the under-17 single scull yesterday was won by Georgia Powell of the University of Queensland. She's racing along with Rockhampton Grammar School's Grace Cypher, who was 3rd in that event. So they're the University of Queensland composite crew on lane 5. And also Toowong in lane 6, Lucy Hope and Sophie Gerber, who were 2nd and 4th in the single event. But it's Kinross Wallaroi who leads, one of their 2 crews in this race. It will be the lane 7 combination, Bridget Yeomans and Phoebe Lamp, who are narrowly in front by just 0.05 of a second, in fact, at 500 metres from Toowong in 2nd place. That is Lucy Hope and Sophie Gerber of Toowong, who was 2nd. Then Stewart Home, the school from Brisbane, Sophia Tully and Emma Tucker would be in 3rd place, lane 6, just ahead of University of Queensland, Rockhampton Grammar School, Cypher and Powell in the centre of the course, lane 5. Were followed at 500 metres by Kentish in lane 2. And it was Huon and also again Kinross Wallaroi, the lane 8 combination from Kinross. It would be in 7th place as the time's correct now. So Kinross 1st and 7th at this stage in the opening exchange of the under-17 women's double scull. 2 crews in the race from the school in the central west of New South Wales. And the lane 7 combination having a good race with one of our 2 race favourites, Toowong, Hope and Gerber in lane 6. And also Stewart Home in 4 and the University of Queensland, Rockhampton Grammar School lane 5. So we can say once again the Queenslanders are well represented in this race, as they have been in a lot of these underage events over the first day of finals as well. But a great line of 4 as they head towards the halfway mark now. Still very hard to pick a leader, possibly Toowong, the crew that has got their bow in front now. The crew closest to the camera, the predominantly yellow colours there of the Toowong Rowing Club. And you can see they've got actually what is quite a sizable margin, almost a boat length, over the University of Queensland, Rockhampton Grammar School in 2nd place. So more as we thought it would be now. The favourites in the centre lanes have assumed the ascendancy at halfway through the under-17 women's double scull. Lucy Hope and Sophie Gerber of Toowong, coached by Andrew Gerber there, and they've got a lead of just over 1 3/4 seconds now from Grace Cypher of Rockhampton Grammar School, along with Georgia Powell of the University of Queensland Boat Club. They're coached by Richard Powell and Robin Fay. And then Stewart Home still there in 3rd place, Sophia Tully and Emma Tucker, coached by Pat Makem and Matthew Martin. And then the Tasmanian crew, Kentish over in lane 2, Sarah Haas and Sarah Russell, coached by Mark Stott, Graham Scattergood and Xanthia McCarthy, would have moved up into 4th place. So early leaders from Kinross Wallaroi have dropped back a little. Huon are there as well, Katja Cook and Katie King, along with the 2 doubles from Kinross in the close lanes on the grandstand side of the course. But again, it is the centre lanes where the action is. The higher seated crews from the earlier rounds of racing progressing through to the centre lanes, but Toowong lane 6 still doing by far the best of it at this stage, holding on ahead of the University of Queensland and Rockhampton Grammar School. So it was Lucy Hope who was 2nd in the single scull yesterday, teaming up with Sophie Gerber, who was 4th, both from the Toowong Rowing Club. And in the boat next to them, Georgia Powell of the University of Queensland also raced for her school All Hallows yesterday afternoon in the schoolgirls single scull. She won the under-17 women's single yesterday and is teamed up with Rockhampton Grammar School's Grace Cypher, who was 3rd in the same race and sitting in the stroke seat of that double scull. But the Toowong double retains the ascendancy still as they approach the 1,500 metre mark. It's Toowong still leading, it would seem, by a little bit over a boat length from University of Queensland and Rockhampton Grammar School. They're about to come through with a quarter of the race to go, and it's about 2/3 of a length, in fact, as they cross over that timing mark now. Toowong by 1.45 seconds. So they've come back a little, the combination of SIRR and Powell from University of Queensland Rockhampton Grammar School in second place, but still it is Toowong, Lucy Hope and Sophie Gerber who lead this race. Toowong from UQ Rockhampton Grammar, then Stuart Holmes still there in third place, Sophia Tully and Emma Tucker. The Kentish combination is holding on to fourth ahead of Huon, two Tasmanian crews over in lanes 2 and 3, currently fourth and fifth. And then the two double sculls from Kinross Walleroy on the grandstand side, sitting 6th and 7th at this stage. The composite crews started to move now as they look to bring back this race lead held by Toowong. Toowong still in front, but Rockhampton Grammar School, University of Queensland are closing on them with every stroke here. They've really made them move in the final 500 metres and have moved up to challenge Toowong. They'd be sitting probably a canvas or so behind at this stage, but look to be the faster moving of these two crews. Georgia Powell from the University of Queensland, Grace SIRR of Rockhampton Grammar School in the stroke seat alongside Lucy Hope and Sophie Gerber of Toowong. And these two Queensland doubles are going to race right down to the line here now with just over 100 to go, up to 36 strokes per minute. The Rockhampton Grammar School and University of Queensland combination. Toowong alongside it, trying to match them on about 33. They're a couple of points lower and have some work to do now as it looks from here as if University of Queensland Rockhampton Grammar School have just about snuck their boat in front. There's still about 70 metres to race in the final of the under-17 women's double scull, and Toowong still narrowly hanging on. They've lifted once more and they've responded to the challenge, and they have got their boat back in front by a canvas or so. Toowong, lane 6, University of Queensland Rockhampton Grammar School, lane 5. Toowong will get the win. Toowong first in the under-17 women's double scull by just under a second, it looks like, from University of Queensland Rockhampton Grammar School in second place. Great finish between those two crews. Third will go to Stuart Home. Fourth then will be Huon lane 3, Kentish lane 2 are next home. And then the two doubles from Kinross Walleroy. Lane 7 will take out 6th place. And lane 8 will finish 7th in the under-17 women's double scull.
Well called, Richard. A great race there. First, lane 6, Toowong. Second, lane 5, University of Queensland Rockhampton Grammar Composite. Third, Stuart Home. Fourth, Huon. Fifth, Kentish. Sixth, Kinross Walleroy, Yeomans and Lamp. And seventh, Kinross Walleroy, Scammell and Neville. Unofficial winning time is 7:33.76. And the margin unofficially is 0.97 by 9.91, but that will be made official shortly. The under-17 men's double scull final are in the starters' hands. In lane 1, Cathedral from Townsville. Lane 2, St Joseph's Gregory Terrace, Brisbane Grammar School Composite. Lane 3, Sydney Cranbrook School Composite. Lane 4, Tasmania University. Lane 5, Nudgee College. Lane 6, Newington. Lane 7, Port Adelaide. And lane 8, Kinross Walleroy.
Port Adelaide, Kinross Walleroy. Attention.
And they are just underway in the final of the under-17 men's double scull. Great pictures coming through from the start line there as these 8 doubles are on their way down the 2,000 metre course. And a reminder, of course, if you can't be here tomorrow or Sunday, you can see these pictures on the live stream through the Rowing Australia website. And the early strokes, as Ray suggested earlier, Tasmania University, Samuel Mounter and Thomas Vermey, lane 6, you think would be one of the crews to beat. Nudgee College alongside them, lane 5, the defending champions, a A different combination this year, I believe, but still a well-credentialed crew from Nudgee College in Brisbane as well. They are the two crews in the centre lanes, and they're away fairly neatly together in the opening strokes. Cathedral Lane 1, Gregory Terrace, and St Joseph's in Lane 2. Sydney Cranbrook in 3, Tasmania University Lane 4, Nudgee 5, Newington 6, Port Adelaide 7, and Kinross Walleroy in Lane 8. Thomas Vermey finished 4th in the under-17 men's single scull yesterday. The top few in that race actually not contesting the double scull, it seems, or at least not in the final of the double scull. So Thomas Vermey from Tasmania University was best placed in the single scull event, and he is in that red boat showing up clearly on the screen, along with Samuel Mounter. They're coached by Mark Stott, the Tasmania University combination. They've got a length, it seems, a bit more than a length as they go through the 500-metre mark. So it is, as expected, Tasmania University, Mounter and Vermey in first place. And Tasmania University first, Nudgee College in second place, almost 3 seconds off the pace there. The Nudgee College combination, Ben McMillan and Leighton Friedrich, coach, of course, by John Bowes, the long-serving coach at Nudgee College in Brisbane. Port Adelaide would be in third place, Zach Martin Petty and Luke Simpson. And coached by Gavin Threadgold, James Nicholson and Bruce Mason. And fourth place, the Cathedral School from Townsville. Right across on the far side of the course, Liam Hemmett and Gordon Applegren, coached by Stefan Muhlenberg, another long-serving coach at that school up in Townsville in far north Queensland. Behind Cathedral, it would have been Newington Lane 6, Harry Jason and Simon Latham. Then the Sydney composite combination, Sydney and Cranbrook School, Mitchell Caponis and Lachlan Roach. Kinross Walleroy in Lane 8, Thomas Richardson and Cody Kelso. And then the Brisbane Schools composite crew, Hugh Waitman from Brisbane Grammar School and James Farquhar of Gregory Terrace. Hugh, of course, the son of David Waitman, the Olympic silver medalist from 1996. That crew sitting back in narrowly in 8th place at this stage, but there's not a great deal between most of the field, but Tasmania University have certainly cleaned out in front. And Nudgee looking to grab hold of a comfortable second place. They had it by only half a second after 500 metres. They're now out to what would seem to be a slightly more commanding lead over possibly Port Adelaide third. But Tasmania University have got almost 2 lengths now at halfway, 3:22.73 as they go through that timing point. 2.5 seconds over Nudgee College. I think it might have been a bit more than that. It was almost 2 boat lengths. But Nudgee second, Port Adelaide third, and Newington now up into 4th place. Harry Jansen and Simon Latham have gained a couple of spots over the second 500 metres of this 2,000 metre race. But it is as expected. Tasmania University and Nudgee College out first and second. And the two crews towards this side now. Port Adelaide Lane 7, Newington Lane 6. Cathedral on the far side, still there about 5th place at this stage. Sitting 3 to 4 seconds outside of the bronze medal through the third 500 of the race. And then Kinross Walleroy Lane 8, Sydney Cranbrook in 3, and Gregory Terrace Brisbane Grammar School Lane 2 back in 8th place. But some small margins between the lower ranked crews, but our top 2 have certainly cleared out. Thomas Vermey and Samuel Mounter from Tasmania University. As expected, Thomas Vermey the best placed sculler in this race based on yesterday's results. James Farquhar from Gregory Terrace rowing in that crew with Hugh Waitman also rode the final of the under-17 men's single yesterday, finishing in 7th place. But the rest of the field didn't make the final, or didn't contest the final of the individual event, but a chance here certainly for some medals in the double sculls. Nudgee College in 2nd place. He said they are the defending champions in this race. Different crew this year. Ben McMillan and Leighton Friedrich, the representatives of Nudgee College. Both those rowers, I understand, would have been members of the Nudgee First 8 that finished in 2nd place in the head of the river behind the Southport School. And they're in 2nd place here again behind Tasmania University, who still lead this race by a couple of boat lengths, almost 4 seconds. The margin now 5:09 flat the time to Tasmania University through the first 1,500 metres now, and they continue to maintain that comfortable lead. Almost 4 seconds over Nudgee College in 2nd place. Port Adelaide Lane 7 have moved up to 3rd now to provisionally sit in the bronze medal position ahead of Cathedral from Townsville over the far side, who are back up into 4th, and Newington have dropped back a couple of places, now sitting 5th, that lane 6 combination for the Sydney school. And then further back behind them, Sydney Cranbrook in 3, Kinross Walleroy lane 8, and Gregory Terrace Brisbane Grammar School over in lane 2, back in 8th place. But our top 2 still comfortably clear. And it looks like the Tasmanians here in that distinctive red boat remaining well clear of Nudgee College in 2nd place, who themselves are equally comfortable, you'd think, with the silver medal in there, keeping a bit of interest in the race for the bronze. But Port Adelaide over this side, Zach Martin-Petty and Luke Simpson have finished the best of the remaining crews. They're coached by Gavin Threadgold, James Nicholson and Bruce Mason, have certainly got clear of all the crews on this side. And no real challenges, it seems, over the far side of the course, although lane 6, Newington, going quickly again now in the closing strokes. Maybe a late charge for the bronze medal from that Newington crew, but a long way behind our race leaders. Nudgee are pulling back on Tasmania University, but I think they've left their run far too late for Nudgee. They'll get within a length or so, but they will have to be content with the silver medal. The gold will go to Samuel Mounter and Thomas Vermey of Tasmania University, and they'll win it by Clearwater. Getting very close for the bronze, but Tasmania University across in 1st place. Nudgee College will get 2nd. It'll be Newington, I think, sneaking up on Port Adelaide in the race for the bronze. Very close as these two hit the line. Newington, I think, but we'll wait for the official result. They're very close. Newington, Port Adelaide, 3rd and 4th. 5th goes to Kinross Walleroy. 6th on the far side, Cathedral School from Townsville. 7th will be Sydney and Cranbrook. And 8th place, Gregory Terrace and Brisbane Grammar School.
So unofficially, 1st Tasmania University, 2nd Nudgee, 3rd Newington, 4th Port Adelaide, 5th then Kinross Walleroy, 6th Cathedral, 7th Sydney, 8th Gregory Terrace Brisbane Grammar School composite. The winning time 6:56.23. Presentation of medals for the Under-17 Women's Double Scull Championship of Australia. The medals to be presented by Mr. Murray Stewart, CEO of Rowing Queensland. In 3rd place, and bronze medalist, Stewart Home School, represented by Sophia Tully and Emma Tucker. In 2nd place, and silver medalist, University of Queensland Boat Club and Rockhampton Grammar School, represented by Georgia Powell of University of Queensland Boat Club and Grace Cypher of Rockhampton Grammar School. Gold medalist and Australian champions for 2018, Toowong Rowing Club, represented by Lucy Hope and Sophie Gerber. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our medalists.
Message from our officials for all crews to please ensure you are at the bridge 15 minutes before the scheduled start time for your race. All crews heading to the start of your race, please ensure you are at the bridge no less than 15 minutes before the scheduled start time for your race.
And under 19 women's double scull final. The crews in the final are Lane 1, Toowong, University of Queensland Composite. Lane 2, University of Queensland. Lane 3, Port Adelaide, Adelaide University Composite. Lane 4, Brisbane and GPS, Toowong Composite. Lane 5, Corio Bay. Lane 6, Swan River, University of Western Australia Composite. Lane 7, Melbourne Composite. And Lane 8, Loretto Normanhurst.
And they're racing in the final of the under-19 women's double scull. And you'd have to expect the hot favourites in this race would be that Brisbane and GPS Toowong combination. Lane 4, Laura Chancellor from Toowong, Taylor McCarthy-Smith from Brisbane and GPS Rowing Club, and the Queensland Academy of Sport, coached by Ben Southwell and Kieran Dwyer. These two were first and second in the under-19 women's single scull final yesterday. McCarthy-Smith beating home Chancellor by 3.5 seconds, and teaming up in the double scull this time to race in lane 4. Now the top-ranked crew, Corio Bay, lane 5, Chelsea Howell and Maggie Foley, coached by Jeff Watt at the Corio Bay Rowing Club on the Barwon River in Geelong. And those two crews certainly away well, along with the rest of the field. So all 8 comfortably on their way in the final of the under-19 women's double scull. Brisbane and GPS Mercantile, the defending champions in this race, but it's anyone's in the early stages. They go through the 500-metre mark, and it was lane 3, Port Adelaide and Adelaide, narrowly in front. Celia Cowan of Adelaide University and Caitlin Nicholson of the Port Adelaide Rowing Club, coached by Jason Lane. Just ahead of Brisbane and GPS Toowong in second place, Corio Bay third. Fourth was Swan River University of Western Australia. So less than 3 seconds between our top 4. And similar margins then back to University of Queensland. Elizabeth New-Allison King in 5th place. The Melbourne-Sydney composite crew, Ella Hudson of Sydney Rowing Club, Lily Cathcart from Melbourne in 5th. Then it was Toowong, University of Queensland on the far side, Portia Bennett and Caitlin Douglas, ahead of Loretto Normanhurst, Laura Gawley and Rosalind Daly.
Jason Lane coaching the leading crew, of course, the head coach at the South Australian Sports Institute.
So the Jason Lane coach crew from Port Adelaide, Adelaide University is doing well in the early stages, but it does look as if Brisbane and GPS and Toowong in lane 4. Laura Chancellor and Taylor McCarthy-Smith are certainly moving through to challenge them now on the second 500 metres. The race favourites, you'd have to think, in lane 4, along with Port Adelaide, Adelaide University, lane 3. And then Corio Bay, slightly out of shot there in lane 5 and not too far off the pace. Probably third, but the two crews on the far side doing well at the same time. So that is the crew closest to the camera now. The yellow colours of Toowong there. Laura Chancellor in the bow seat. Taylor McCarthy-Smith, the individual single scull champion, the under-19 women's single scull champion, rode for Australia last year in the junior team, and she's got her boat ever so slightly in front at halfway, 1600ths of a second from Chancellor and McCarthy-Smith in first place to Cowan and Nicholson in second. So very tight between Brisbane and GPS Toowong and Port Adelaide, Adelaide University at halfway in the final of the under-19 women's double scull. Just over 4 seconds back to the West Australian composite combination, Swan River and University of Western Australia. That's Claire Netherway, the University of Western Australia Boat Club, and Leah Franklin from the Swan River Rowing Club. They're coached by Chris Holliday and Stefano Belosso. And then fourth would be lane 7, the Melbourne and Sydney composite crew. Ella Hudson from Sydney Rowing Club and Lily Cathcart from the Melbourne Rowing Club, coached by Lachlan Carter, Donovan Seck and David Ochert. The crew there in about 4th place at this stage, ahead of Corio Bay, Toowong University of Queensland in 1, University of Queensland in 2, and Loretto Normanhurst in lane 8.
Had the pleasure of meeting Lily Cathcart yesterday, Richard. David Orchard introduced me to Lily up at the coffee shop up the top of the hill there. But this is a terrific race between lanes 3 and 4.
It is indeed, Ray, and still very hard to separate those top 2 as they continue down with we're just over 600 metres to race. So the Port Adelaide University crew not giving up the chase at all. They were narrowly headed at halfway, but they are holding on to probably have just assumed the lead. In fact, again, the South Australian composite crew as they start to approach the 1,500 metre mark now. Toowong University of Queensland again closest to the camera if you're watching on the big screens, and the crew just behind them, Adelaide University. You can see it's probably out to maybe half a length or so as they come through 1,500.
Just a surge there from the composite crew nearest the camera. And it got them about a half a length in front, but great racing between those two crews right beside each other.
This is what we've come to see on finals days here. A brilliant race in the under-19 women's double scull. The top 2 have gone well clear. Brisbane and GPS Toowong by just over a second from Port Adelaide University in second place, and a gap of over 4 seconds back to Melbourne and Sydney. It is in third place. Ella Hudson and Lily Cathcart have moved up to sit in the bronze medal position at this stage, ahead then of the West Australian crew alongside them, Claire Netherway from University of Western Australia and Leah Franklin from Swan River. And then fifth would have been right over on the far side, Portia Bennett from University of Queensland and Caitlin Douglas from Toowong. But the interest still in these middle lanes, lanes 3 and 4. But it does look, as the race approaches the finish, more and more as if Taylor McCarthy-Smith will take home her second national title in 2 days in company with Laura Chancellor, who she beat home in the single scull event yesterday. But still the South Australians gamely fighting on. Celia Cowan from Adelaide University and Caitlin Nicholson from the Port Adelaide Rowing Club. It'd still be less than a length between these top 2, but there's just over 100 metres to go. So McCarthy-Smith and Chancellor, the Queensland composite crew, on 34 strokes per minute. And alongside them is the South Australian crew, who's coming back once again. They are not giving up in the closing strokes. They've gone to 37, the South Australians, as they try to reel in half a length or so. They've given away to this Queensland crew, but they're inside the final 100 metres now. Still Laura Chancellor and Taylor McCarthy-Smith ahead of Celia Cowan and Caitlin Nicholson. Only a few strokes to go, and the Queensland combination looks home from here. They're clear by about 2/3 of a length. As they head towards the line, it will be gold to Laura Chancellor and Taylor McCarthy-Smith. Toowong and Brisbane and GPS first. Second place, Port Adelaide and Adelaide University. Third will go to lane 7, the Melbourne and Sydney Rowing Club's composite crew. Fourth then lane 6, Swan River University of Western Australia. Fifth, the far side, Toowong and UQ. Sixth goes to lane 8, Loretto Normanhurst. Close for 7th, maybe lane 2, the University of Queensland just from Corio Bay in the under-19 women's double scull.
So unofficially, first Brisbane and GPS Toowong composite, second Port Adelaide Unity composite, third Melbourne Sydney composite, fourth Swan River University of Western Australia composite, fifth Toowong University of Queensland, sixth Loretto Normanhurst, seventh University of Queensland and eighth Corio Bay, winning time 7:31.47. Presentation of medals for the Under-17 Men's Double Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Mr. Murray Stewart, CEO of Rowing Queensland. Third place and bronze medalist, Newington College, represented by Harry Jansen and Simon Latham. second place, and silver medalist, St Joseph's Nudgee College, represented by Ben McMillan and Leighton Friedrich. Gold medalist and Australian champions for 2018, Tasmania University, represented by Samuel Mounter and Thomas Vermey. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our medalists. So the final of the under-19 men's double scull is underway, and it's Sydney University, Sydney leading at the 500 metre mark. In second is North Esk, third ANA Swan River, fourth Sydney University, fifth St Peter's Unley High School, sixth Tasmania University, seventh Brisbane and GPS Toowong, and eighth place is Team Japan.
Just had a quick look down through the binoculars to make sure what was on the screen suggesting a 40-second margin is not quite correct. And in fact, it may be the North Esk combination, I think, who are our race leaders. In fact, the crew in lane 2 over on the far side are very close. In fact, as they approach the 1,000 metre mark, we'll get some more accurate splits here. It is North Esk from Tasmania who go through first, Lars Gillingham and Daniel Barrett, coached by Trevor Barrett, our race leaders. And Sydney is still there in second place, but not the significant margin suggested after 500 metres. So a tight race, in fact, between the top 4 or 5. North Esk from Sydney University, Sydney. Then it would be the South Australian combination, St Peter's and Unley High in third place. ANA Swan River, the West Australian combination in fourth. And fifth then would be Toowong. In fact, no, those splits have gone off the screen, so we'll go back to what we can see out the window again. North Esk, Lars Gillingham and Daniel Barrett, certainly our race leaders, ahead of Ash Nichols and Kieran Ryak from Sydney Uni and the Sydney Rowing Club. Ash Nichols was second in the single scull yesterday behind our runaway winner, Cormac Kennedy-Leverett from the, from Griffith University Surfers Paradise, of course. Cormac Kennedy-Leverett rowing for now, but not in this race. So a wide open field. Ash Nichols, as I said, was second place, teaming up with Kieran Ryak, who raced in the B final of the under-19 men's double scull as well. So they would still be our top 2. Also lane 4, the South Australian composite combination, Mitchell Reinhard from Unley High and Angus Dawson from St Peter's, respectively 6th and 3rd in the A final of the under-19 men's singles yesterday. So probably collectively the best credentialed combination in this race based on yesterday's results, and they're certainly up there fighting for a top 3 position at this stage of the race. So the Tasmanians over in lane 2 towards the far side, the South Australians in lane 4, and the New South Wales combination lane 6 would be our top 3 as they come through now with 500 metres to race. And it is indeed Mitchell Reinhard of Unley High and Angus Dawson of St Peter's who've taken the lead by 1.34 seconds now from North Esk in second place, and 2/3 of a second back to Sydney Uni, Sydney in third. And the West Australians a chance here too. ANA Swan River just 1/3 of a second back in fourth place. That's Chad Dericourt and Joe Loveridge. Chad Dericourt won the B final. Won the B final easily yesterday with Joe Loveridge, who finished in 8th place in the A final. So again, 2 scullers doing well yesterday. But our race leaders, certainly the South Australians now. Mitchell Reinhardt and Angus Dawson, coached by Brindley Millwood, Pierre Richards and James McRae, look to have gone clear by maybe half a length or so. The crew beside them, the West Australian composite combination, is coming through quite strongly as well. Chad Darricourt and Joe Loveridge, they're coached by Greg Wilson, and they may just about have moved up into second spot now alongside Ash Nichols and Kieran Ryak from Sydney Uni and Sydney Rowing Club. They'll be our 3 medalists at this stage, with lane 2, North S. The early leaders, Gillingham and Barrett, just dropping back a little off the pace now in the closing strokes. The top 3 have gone clear, possibly Team Japan too, moving up into 4th place. Shinsuke Shimada and Hiroki Aoki both placed in the A final yesterday, but maybe just outside the medals here. It is the South Australian combination. Mitchell Reinhardt from Unley High, Angus Dawson from St Peters, clear by almost a length now with only a few strokes to go. Lane 5 A&A Swan River just up into second place ahead of Sydney Uni and Team Japan, but it's the South Australians who will take the win on lane 4. The under-19 men's double scale to Unley High and St Peters. Second place goes to A&A Swan River. Third will be Sydney Uni, and 4th is Team Japan, just outside the medals. Then lane 2, North Esk in 5th place. 6th on the far side will be Sydney. 7th place to the crew from Tasmania University, and 8th on this side to Brisbane and GPS Toowong.
Unofficial there. First, St Peters College Unley High Composite. Second, A&A Swan River. Third, Sydney Uni Sydney. 4th, Team Japan. 5th, North Esk. 6th, Sydney. 7th, Tas Uni. 8th, Brisbane and GPS and Toowong. Winning time 6:46.29. Presentation of medals for the Under-19 Women's Double Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Margaret McKenzie, Life Member, Rowing Australia. In 3rd place, and winners of the bronze medal, Melbourne Rowing Club, Sydney Rowing Club Composite. Melbourne Rowing Club, Sydney Rowing Club, Ella Hudson, and Melbourne Rowing Club, Lily Cathcart. Second place and silver medalist, Port Adelaide, Adelaide University, South Australian Sports Institute. Represented by Celia Cowan of Adelaide University and Caitlin Nicholson of Port Adelaide Rowing Club. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2018, Brisbane and GPS Rowing Club and Toowong Rowing Club Composite, Queensland Academy of Sport. Bow, Laura Chancellor of Toowong. And the stroke, Taylor McCarthy Smith of Brisbane and GPS Rowing Club. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our medalists.
they look pretty nice.
In under 19 women's Coxless 4 underway. In lane 1 is Loretto Marrittville Composite. Lane 2 University of Queensland. Lane 3 is Loretto Old Scholars and Community Rowing Club and St Peter's Girls and Loretto Marrittville. And too many to mention. Lane 4 Sydney Uni. Lane 5 Griffith Uni Service Paradise Toowong. Lane 6, Western Australia Presbyterian Ladies College. Lane 7, Derwent Mercantile Collegiate Rowing Club. And Lane 8, Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise, Somerset, Rockhampton, Fitzroy.
So the big boats, as always, bringing some mouthfuls of composite combinations as they've already come through the first 500 metres, and it is the combination in the centre of the course, one of the more simple composites. Sydney and Sydney Uni, lane 4, our narrow race leaders by just under a quarter of a second. The crew of Rachel Balcom, Ella Mentzines, Isabel Ferrer and Lauren Graham. Coached by Lachlan Carter, Jason Baker and Alfie Young. Half the crew from Sydney University, half from the Sydney Rowing Club. Ahead of the crew on the grandstand side, the all-Queensland combination from all parts of Queensland. Nikita Hill from the Rockhampton Fitzroy Rowing Club. Catherine Plume from Somerset on the Gold Coast. Jade Mansell also from Somerset, and Matilda Amore, Griffith University Surfers Paradise there, coached by Andre Pistonik. And third place, the all West Australian composite combination on lane 6. Eleanor Swick from PLC Perth, also Emma Wilson, PLC Perth, along with Louisa Jackson, and one representative from the West Australian Rowing Club, Olivia Jones, in the stroke seat of that crew. They're coached by David Milne. And as we have a look at that lane 5 crew, also, in fact, that's Griffith University Surfers Paradise Toowong. I may have named the wrong crew. It's lane 5, the combination, who's up in the race lead as they go through now. That is, in fact, Phoebe Robinson of Toowong, Hilary Ballinger from Griffith University Surfers Paradise, Jess Scott from Griffith Uni, and Lukey Smith also from the Griffith University Surfers Paradise Scull. Lukey Smith and Jess Scott, of course, combined yesterday for a win in the double scull, as well as taking a head of the river for their school, St Hilda's, last year. And they are leading this race by 3.5 seconds now over Sydney and Sydney Uni.
History-making win, St Hilda's first win in that particular race, Richard.
Yes, it was a great win. They've been building towards that for several years. St Hilda's built a strong program from the Grade 8 level up, and I think got a deserved result last year in the head of the river race after many years of trying. So the St Hilda's pair, at least in this under-19 women's Coxless 4, making up half of our race leaders, along with Phoebe Robinson, the yellow colours there of Toowong, and also Hilary Ballinger from the Griffith University Surfers Paradise Club. They're coached by Sean Carolan, and it is lane 5, the race leaders over Sydney and Sydney Uni. Rachel Balcom, Ella Mentzines, Isabel Ferrer and Lauren Graham. They're still in second position.
And the Bauth pair of this leading crew were also in the final of the under-19 women's pair that was won by the Stern pair.
And in fact, they finished in second place, right? So we've got the top 2 from the under-19 women's Coxless pair combining here into a very good under-19 women's Coxless 4. And you can see they've cleared out by a couple of lengths now. So it looks like it may well be another national title coming up for the Queenslanders here. We'll say that while we still can. They've had a good opening day and a bit of finals here at the 2018 Aon Sydney International Rowing Regatta, and certainly Griffith University Surfers Paradise and Toowong very, very comfortably clear. 5:17 their time through 1,500 metres, and it's 6 3/4 seconds their margin back to Sydney and Sydney Uni in second place. And the West Australians still sit third. Eleanor Swick, Emma Wilson, Louisa Jackson, Olivia Jones, coached by David Milne, that third place crew. And then in fourth over towards the far side, lane 3, it's a South Australian composite crew with a long name, but the rowers are Karis Jones, Georgina Berry, Rachel Carmanier and Holly Ashworth, coached by Tom Dornbos and Catherine McDougall. In fourth place ahead of the Derwent Mercantile Collegiate Rowing Club, lane 7, Penelope Bowman, Jessica Stevens, Eva Davis, Caitlin Hogan-Jones, coached by Neil Stump. Possibly a good race for the silver medal coming up here, but the gold looks to be very much in the keeping of the Lane 5 composite crew from Griffith University Surfers Paradise and the Toowong Rowing Club. Phoebe Robinson, Hilary Ballinger, Jess Scott and Lukey Smith collectively first and second in the under-19 women's coxless pair, and looking to add another gold medal to their collection here with just over 100 metres now to race. Second place still Sydney and Sydney Uni, Balcombe, Menzies, Furrer and Graham. And then the West Australians, Swick, Wilson, Jackson and Jones in the three in the green colours of PLC Perth, and the red, of course, of the West Australian Rowing Club in the stroke seat there in Olivia Jones. But it is Griffith University, Surfers Paradise and Toowong. Just a few strokes to go for this leading crew. Well clear by about 2.5 lengths with 50 metres to race in the final of the under-19 women's coxless 4. And it will be Griffith University, Surfers Paradise and Toowong taking out the title as they cross the line now. Lane 5 gets the win. Lane 4 will be there in second place. Sydney and Sydney Uni about 2 lengths clear of Lane 6 in third. The West Australian and PLC Perth composite crew very close for fourth place. The green and gold bow of the Derwent Mercantile Collegiate Rowing Club just being edged out by Lane 3. The Loretto Old Scholars composite crew fourth. Derwent Mercantile fifth. Sixth to the University of Queensland in Lane 2. Seventh, I think, will go to the South Australian Schools combination on the far side, Loretto, Marriottfield and Seymour College, and 8th place on this side, I'd suggest, in a few strokes time, Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise and Rockhampton Fitzroy.
Unofficially, Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise Toowong first, second Sydney, Sydney University, third Western Australian Rowing Club PLC Perth, fourth Loretto Old Scholars and Community Rowing Club Composite, fifth Derwent Mercantile, sixth University of Queensland, seventh Loretto Marriottfield Composite and eighth Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise, 7:05.52. That's unofficial. Presentations of medals for the Men's Under-19 Double Scull Championship of Australia. The medals and the Tim Hawkins Memorial Trophy will be presented by Margaret McKenzie, life member of Rowing Australia and a close friend of the Hawkins family. Tim Hawkins was tragically killed in the Bali bombing in 2002. Himself an Australian champion in this particular event, and his brother Stephen, an Olympic gold medalist in the double scull also. In third place and winners of the bronze medal, Sydney University Sydney Composite, represented by Ash Nichols of Sydney Rowing Club and Kieran Ryak of Sydney University Boat Club. In second place, winners of the silver medals, A&A Swan River Composite from Western Australia. Chad Deracourt of Swan River Rowing Club. And Joe Loveridge of A&A Rowing Club. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2018, St Peter's College, Unley High Composite from South Australia and the South Australian Sports Institute. Mitchell Reinhardt from Unley High. And Angus Dawson from St Peter's College. Margaret will now present the Tim Hawkins Memorial Trophy to our gold medalists, Reinhardt and Dawson. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our medalists. Under 19 men's Coxless 4 is on the course. Lane 1 Banks, Lane 2 Tasmanian University, Lane 3 Mossman, Lane 4 St Joseph's New South Wales, Lane 5 Sydney Enswiss, Lane 6 Team Argentina, Lane 7 the Southport School, and Lane 8 Newington Enswiss.
And it's been the Mossman crew that's led through the 500 metre mark at least this race. They're approaching halfway now, in fact, but it was Mossman at the 500 by 0.6 of a second. And as they come through the halfway mark now, it still is the Mossman crew from Sydney in first place, ahead of Newington, still in second place. The margin stretched out from 0.6 to 2.7 seconds. And Team Argentina third. Banks over on the far side would be in fourth place. And St Joseph's, Sydney, and also the Southport School, as they've come through half distance now in race 306. The final of the under-19 men's Coxless 4. Mercantile, the defending champions in this race, not in this final, so we'll have a new winner. And at this stage, Mossman certainly best placed of the contenders. The crew of Nicholas Pender, Torben Ungermuck, Mitch Blackmore-Cram, Connor Hopkins, coached by Matthias Ungermuck and Judith Ungermuck, the Mossman combination who've led this race, it seems, right from the start, now out to almost a 3-second advantage. So about a boat length in these under-19 men's Coxless 4. That's the Lane 3 combination from Mossman. And then right over this side, closest to the grandstand, the crew from Newington, still very much in contention as well. Alexander Potter, Harry Crouch, Alexander Wood, and Luca Roncolato racing there in Lane 8. And Lane 6 in between them, possibly now sitting in third, the Team Argentina combination. Thomas Herrera, Augustin Senna, Felipe Motorelli and Marco Paganelli from Team Argentina. And Banks on the far side of the course. Always standing out in their distinctive livery. Jotem Brotman, Gavril Gurovic, John Polnak, Connor Knight, coached by Dylan Curnow and Paul McGann, the crew from Banks. And the other crew to watch would be St Joseph's, New South Wales, I would think, in Lane 4, who are up there with our top 4 or 5 crews, but they've come through now with 1,500 to race, and the top 4 is, as suggested, Mossman from Team Argentina, Newington, Banks, and then St Joseph's. Team Argentina have moved up past that Newington crew and about 2 1/3 seconds off the pace set by our race leaders from Mossman. But Team Argentina moving fairly quickly now into the closing stages of this race and are going to have a great go, at least for a silver medal, if not for the gold. So Mossman try to hold on over in Lane 3. Team Argentina in 6, Newington in 8. Banks a little back on the far side as well. It looks like the medalists should come from our top 3 with St Joseph's in there as well, about 5th place ahead of the Southport School. But Team Argentina, Thomas Herrera, Augustin Senna, Felipe Motorelli, Marco Paganelli, they've come a long way to race here in Sydney, and they're looking to take home a gold medal possibly here as they look to have certainly moved past Newington on this side. And Mossman Lane 3, the only crew that can keep them away from that medal now. Mossman, Pender, Ungermuck, Blackmore, Cram and Hopkins still racing hard. They're over towards the far side of the International Regatta Centre and maybe just still have their boat ever so slightly in front. But Team Argentina He's really flying home, holding it together quite neatly here in the closing strokes as they challenge Mossman stroke for stroke inside the final 100 metres. The red and white stripes of Mossman and the blue and white of Argentina might be just in front with a couple of strokes to go. They're on 43, the South Americans doing everything they can to take the gold. They're in front now with a couple of strokes to go, and Team Argentina takes the win by a third of a length. Team Argentina first, Mossman second, third goes to Newington on this side, fourth the far side will be Banks. Fifth time lane for the crew from St Joseph's. A couple of strokes still to go for them, and they'll be followed by Sydney in lane 5, the Southport School in 6, and Tasmania University over in lane 2.
Unofficially there, first great call too, Richard. First Team Argentina, second Mossman, third Newington, fourth Banks, fifth St Joseph's, sixth Sydney, seventh the Southport School, and eighth Tasmanian University. The winning time 6:26.59. Presentation of medals for the under-19 Women's Coxless 4 Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Mr. Andrew Gearan, life member of Rowing Australia and current Rowing Australia board member. In third place and winners of the bronze medal, Western Australian Rowing Club, Presbyterian Ladies College, Perth. The bow, Eleanor Swick of Presbyterian Ladies College. Emma Wilson, Presbyterian Ladies College. Louisa Jackson, Presbyterian Ladies College. And the stroke is Olivia Jones of Western Australian Rowing Club. In second place and silver medalist, Sydney University. Two of the crew members have had to go off for another race. In bow, Rachel Balcom of Sydney University. Two is Ella Menzies of Sydney University. And the other two members are Isabel Fura and Lauren Graham of Sydney Rowing Club, who, as I've said, have had to go off for another race. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2018, Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise Rowing Club and Toowong Rowing Club. Bow, Phoebe Robinson of Toowong. Hilary Ballinger, Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise. Jess Scott, Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise. And Lukey Smith of Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our medalists. Under 19 Men's Cox 4 Championship of Australia underway. Lane 1, Melbourne High. Lane 2, Sydney Composite. Lane 3, the Southport School. Lane 4, St Patrick's College of Victoria. Lane 5, Scotch Oakburn. Lane 6, St Joseph's of New South Wales. Lane lane 7, Canned Composite, and lane 8, Scotch Oakburn.
Just a further reminder from our regatta officials that all crews heading to the start need to be at the bridge no less than 15 minutes before the scheduled start time for their race. So having some difficulties this morning with crews not being ready on time, so all crews must be at the bridge no less than 15 minutes before the scheduled start time of their race. We are underway, as Ray said, in the under-19 men's Cox 4. The title holders here are Newington College from Sydney. Not in this race today, but it looks like it might be the lane 3 combination from the Southport School, ever so narrowly, who do lead through the first 500 metres of this race from St Patrick's Ballarat. Lane 4 alongside them in second place. Half a second between our top 2 then. Scotch Oakburn from Launceston, 2 crews in the race, but Scotch Oakburn lane 5 were in second place. Then St Joseph's Sydney, Canned University of Queensland, Sydney and UTS, Melbourne High in 7th place. And the second Scotch Oakburn crew, lane 8, would be back in 8th at this stage of the race. But the Southport School in front, ever so narrowly from St Patrick's Ballarat. And the Southport School 4 in this race. They rode a Cox down, a Coxless 4. The Coxless 4 in the previous race. This Cox 4 is the other half of their Head of the River winning Open first 8. The first win for the Southport School this year since 2006. So 12 years between win, but about a 1 second win on Lake Warralong a couple of weeks ago over Nudgee College and also Churchy. So the Southport School, they're in the race lead. They look to have just a small margin still over St Patrick's alongside them in second place. The Southport School is Tyler Wright, Archer Southwood, Harry Cox, Dougal Coleman and Austin Bettles, the Cox. And St Patrick's, who might just have the race lead now, in fact, lane 4 as they approach the halfway mark. St Patrick's, Ballarat, Connor Shug, Reagan Champley, James Crilly, Hamish Crawley and Jackson Long. Just the St Patrick's School by the smallest of margins. The timing screen gives it to them by 0.12 of a second, but nothing between the Southport School and St Patrick's Ballarat at the head of the field in the under-19 men's Cox 4. Of course, the Ballarat School is always extremely strong in fours racing. And they're a big chance here along with the Southport School. Then back to Scotch Oakburn, the first half of their crew, racing also in the 8th events here, but splitting into 2 Cox 4s for this race. Scotch Oakburn from Launceston, lane 5 in 3rd place. That's Nick Cash, Samuel Gray, Cameron George, Jacob Finnegan and Edward Napier, the Cox, coached by James Russell and William Breer. So it's lane 3, 4 and 5 at this stage. Just past halfway, or well past halfway now, in the final of the under-19 men's Cox 4. The Southport School in 3, St Patrick's 4 and Scotch Oakburn lane 5. And it is those couple of crews in the middle lane, you'd think, certainly moving right up to challenge the Southport School. We know there was nothing between Southport and Ballarat at halfway. I think Scotch Oakburn are having a strong third 500 here, along with the crews from St Joseph's in Sydney. Joseph's were 3rd in the Sydney head of the river behind the St Ignatius Riverview School. St Ignatius winning for, I think it was the first time since 1975, so a long time between drinks for the Sydney head of the river winners. But St Joseph's were 3rd in this race. They're sitting probably 4th place at this stage, ahead of, or just alongside the Canned Composite crew, the Queensland combination, lane 7 moving through as well. But still, it's very close between our top 2, our top 3, in fact, half a length first to 3rd. The Southport School still just by half a second from St Patrick's, and Scotch Oakburn in 3rd place. I'm not convinced Scotch Oakburn are also 4th, but the top 3 definitely correct. TSS, St Patrick's and Scotch Oakburn lane 5. The Southport School, Wright, Southwood, Cox, Coleman and Bettles. St Patrick's, Ballarat right alongside them. Shug, Champley, Crilly, Crawley and Long. And Scotch Oakburn lane 5. Cash, Gray, George, Finnegan and Napier, the top 3, looking to be our medalists here in the under-19 men's Cox 4. Lane 7, Canned University of Queensland of possibly moved up into 4th place. Jonathan Condon, Darcy McCluskey, Logan Ulrich, Miller Rowe and Isaac Schmidt just ahead of St Joseph's, and also the Sydney UTS composite crew on the far side. Then Scotch Oakman Lane 8 would be 7th, and Melbourne High the far side in 8th place. But 3 medalists to be decided still in the under-19 men's cocks for a great race here between these 3 crews. The yellow colours of Scotch Oakman closest to the grandstand. Beside them is St Patrick's Ballarat, and the yellow caps of the Southport School maybe still ever so slightly in front. The Southport School, Scotch Oakman certainly ahead of St Patrick's now, who are back into 3rd place. The Southport School and Scotch Oakman racing for the gold medal here. It's the Southport School still by maybe a 1/3 of a length or so, with only a couple of strokes to go, and they look to be pulling away this crew from Queensland. The Southport School by almost half a length now over Tasmania's Scotch Oakman, and the Southport School take out the under-19 men's cocks for 2/3 of a length to Scotch Oakman. Same margin back to St Patrick's in 3rd. 4th also close. Anyone's guess, maybe canned from Sydney and UTS. Next home will then be the crew in lane 6, St Joseph. 7th place goes to lane 8, Scotch Oakman again. And then the far side, Melbourne High in 8th place.
Unofficial there. First, the Southport School in lane 3. Second, Scotch Oakburn in 5. Third, St Patrick's College in station 3. Fourth, Cairns University of Queensland. 5th, Sydney UTS. 6th, St Joseph's. 7th, Scotch Oakburn. And 8th, Melbourne High. Winning time 6:39.79. 6:39.79. Presentation of medals for the under-19 men's Coxless 4 Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Mr Andrew Gearan, Rowing Australia Life member and current Rowing Australia board member. In 3rd place, winners of the bronze medal, Newington College, New South Wales Institute of Sport. Alexander Potter, Harry Crouch, Alexander Wood, and the strokers Luca Roncolato. In 2nd place, winners of the silver medal, Mossman Rowing Club. Nicholas Pender, Torben Ungermark, Mitch Blackmore Cram, and the strokers Connor Hopkins. Gold medalist and Australian champions for 2018, Team Argentina. Thomas Herrera, Augustin Senna, Felipe Motorelli, and Marco Pagnanelli. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our medalists.
Oh yeah, that's my water bottle. Cheers. Quería subir y bajar. Es que no lo veo. Thank you. Sorry.
So the Sydney Rowing Club crew, Romy Davenport, who's represented Australia at underage level, and Harriet Hudson, of course, rode for Australia at the World Juniors in the single scull, and also a silver medalist at under 23s last year in the quad scull. They've got a very hefty workload this week. It seems like they're most of the seats that they're on have got wheels on them as they're going up and down the slide most of the week, and they're in the lead here in this under 21 double scull from the UTS crew of Olivia Bartram and Adelaide Scott alongside of them in lane number 5. Romy Davenport in the bow seat, Harriet Hudson in the stroke seat. And they're still working hard there, 35 strokes a minute as they approach the halfway mark. So they've certainly got the rating right up in the first half of this race, and they've moved out to a couple of boat lengths advantage over Olivia Bartram in the bow seat and Adelaide Scott in the stroke seat of the UTS crew. And third is Sydney University, Michaela Franz and Sarah Parsons. They're doing very well here. A couple of athletes that quite often you'll see them racing in lightweight events, and they're in third place. And then it is back to Jalalati and Chambers over in lane number 2, and they're having a very, very good row. And then followed by Adelaide University, Terrell and me. And then the far side, Mercantile, Ballas and Maddox. India Maddox, a late substitution for Ellie Tomanovitz. And they're over in 6th position, and then followed by Banks and then Tuong at the tail of the field. Sydney Rowing Club mentioned there 35 strokes a minute in that first half of the race, and we'll see what they've got in store with the heavy workload this week, and with the UTS crew trying to give them something to think about in the third 500 metres.
No. I just trying to take the blame. Oh, I never trust people being overseas.
Olivia Bartram and Adelaide Scott, both very familiar with this course, having rode at Loretto Normanhurst, who are based at this venue, and often Adelaide Scott also now coaching at Loretto Normanhurst in her very limited spare time. Having a good tussle with Sydney University, Michaela Franz and Sarah Parsons, both new to Sydney University. Michaela Franz previously at Balmain, Sarah Parsons previously at Canberra Rowing Club. And they're doing very well, the lightweights here in this third 500 metres, as they've moved away from their club mates over in lane number 2 and staying right there with the UTS combination, only about a length or so down coming into the last 500 metres. But Sydney Rowing Club established that advantage in the first half of the race, having conceded any ground to UTS in that third 500 metres, and are very, very well placed here at the head of the field. In 4th is Emma Jalalati and Clara Chambers, having a great row over in lane number 2. They're coached by Jack Hanley, 2-time Penrith Cup bronze medalist and 2-time winner of the Australian boat race for Sydney University. And then over to this side of the course where Adelaide University are trying to apply a bit of pressure to them in this last 500 metres. And then Mercantile on the far side, in 6th, Toowoomba in 7th, and in 8th place, Banks, who are just starting to lose a bit of contact with some of the other boats, a couple of lengths down on 7th place. As we move into the last 200 metres, Romy Davenport and Harriet Hudson that are out to a couple of lengths advantage over Olivia Bartram and Adelaide Scott. And then it's about a length and a half back to Sydney University's Michaela Franz and Sarah Parsons in 3rd spot. And that looks to be where the medals are set to go. Over on the far side is Jalalati and Chambers. Still holding a bit of an advantage over Adelaide University, Mercantile, Toowong, and then Banks. But their positions, very little change here. And a nice handy margin of about a length and 3/4 to Sydney Rowing Club. They take out the under-21 women's double scull. Romy Davenport and Harriet Hudson gold. Silver to Bartram and Scott of UTS, and bronze to Franz and Parsons of Sydney University. And followed by Jalalati and Chambers of Sydney Uni in 4th. Then followed by Adelaide University, Terrell and Me in 5th, 6th to Mercantile, 7th to Toowong, and 8th to Banks.
Just confirming the results of race number 308, the final of the under-21 women's double scull. A win for last year's champions, Sydney Rowing Club, Romola Davenport and Harriet Hudson. In 2nd position, representing UTS, Olivia Bartram and Adelaide Scott. And in 3rd, from Sydney University Boat Club, Michaela Franz and Sarah Parsons. In 4th, Sydney University Boat Club. In 5th, Adelaide University. In 6th, Mercantile. In 7th, Toowong. In 8th, Banks. Time for that final 7 minutes, 32.63 seconds. The presentation of medals for the Under-19 Men's Coxed 4 Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Joe Joyce, President of Rowing Victoria. Third place and bronze medalists, St Patrick's College. Connor Shrug. Regan Champley. James Crilly. Hamish Crawley. And their cox, Jackson Long. The crew was coached by Brendan Scott. Second place and silver medalists, Scotch Oakburn. Nick Cash. Samuel Gray. Cameron George. Jacob Finnegan. Their cox, Edward Napier. The crew was coached by James Russell and William Breyer. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2018, the Southport School. Tyler Wright. Archer Southwood. Harry Cox. Dougal Coleman. Bear Cox, Austin Bettles. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate the 2018 Australian champions and medalists in the under-19 men's coxed 4. The final of the under-21 men's double scull is now in progress. In lane 1, Toowong. In lane 2, Sydney Rowing Club. In lane 3, Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise and the QAS. In lane 4, Mercantile. In lane 5, North Esk. In lane 6, Banks, stroked by Eric Lowe. And in lane 7, Banks, stroked by James Meads. In lane 8, North Esk, stroked by Angus McGlashan.
And it is still the Griffith University Service Paradise that lead through the halfway mark in 3:17.93. Cormac Kennedy Leverett and Jackson Free, and they lead just over a second back to North Esk with Joseph Wilson and Jack Barrett. They were 6th and 7th respectively in the final of the single scull. They're coached by Trevor Barrett and Michael Wilson. And North Esk from Launceston throwing out the challenge to Griffith University Service Paradise. Cormac Kennedy Leverett, a world junior champion in this class of boat, and he was the winner of the under-19 single scull, and Jackson Free in the boat with those long locks. He was the bronze medalist in the under-21 men's double scull. So they're very much duking it out. Mercantile are in 3rd spot, Hooper and Kane, and then back to Toowong in 4th, Banks in 5th. North Esk with their 2nd crew qualifying for the final. They're in 6th position, followed by another Banks crew and Sydney Rowing Club in 8th position. So very much a race at the head of the field between Griffith University Service Paradise and North Esk. And North Esk threw out the challenge in the first half of the race, but in this third 500 metres, Griffith University Service Paradise have looked to have started to just make a bit of a push. Coming up towards the 1,500 metre mark, and certainly got the rating up, 35 strokes a minute. Jackson Free and Cormac Kennedy Leverett, they move through the 1,000 metre mark, and they have really pushed clear in this third 500 metres, taken a couple of lengths out of North Esk. Joseph Wilson and Jack Barrett have taken nearly 3.5 seconds in that third 500 metres. Mercantile are in 3rd spot in the lane in between, in lane number 4, and then it's a great tussle on this side of the course with Banks and North Esk in lane 7 and 8. That's Bullock and Meads and Dodens and McGlashan that are fighting it out for 4th position. Sydney Rowing Club have moved up ahead of Toowong over on the far side of the course, and then back to the other Banks crew of Lecky and Lowe in 8th position. But I think the damage may well have been done in that third 500 metres. Cormac Kennedy Leverett and Jackson Free, coached by Marcus Free, coming into the last 250 metres and still have a clear water gap over North Esk. Joseph Wilson and Jack Barrett and Mercantile are in 3rd. And they in turn still have some clear water over this great race going on right on this side of the course between Banks and the 2nd of the North Esk combinations. On screen, Cormac Kennedy Leverett in the bow seat and Jackson Free in the stroke seat. They've just 100 metres left to cover for them to take out the under-21 men's double scull national championship. And still got the rating up. They've shifted it up to 37 strokes a minute as they approach the line. And Cormac, Kennedy, Leverett and Jackson Free claim the win. Margin sort of moved out to almost 3 lengths in the end. North Esk, Wilson and Barrett challenged them early and they will win the silver medal. And bronze will go to Mercantile's Mitchell Hooper and Joel Kane. Very close there for 4th. As Banks on this side of the course just edge out Sydney Rowing Club in 5th. 6 goes to North Esk, 7th to the other Banks crew of Lecky and Lowe, and in 8th to Wong.
Recapping the results there of the final of the under-21 men's double scull. A fine win for Griffith Uni, Surfers Paradise and the Queensland Academy of Sport crew of Cormac, Kennedy, Leverett and Jackson Free, coached by Marcus Free. In 2nd place, Sydney Rowing Club's Chris McCarthy and Lucas Giles. In 3rd place, Mercantile's Mitchell Hooper and Joel Kane. Apologies, 2nd position was North Esk, Joseph Wilson and Jack Barrett. In 4th, Banks. In 5th, Sydney. In 6th, North Esk. In 7th, Banks. And in 8th, to Wong. Winning time, 6 minutes, 41.02 seconds. The under-20 women's Coxed 4, under-21 women's Coxed 4 is our next race, number 310 on the programme. In lane 1, Banks Rowing Club. In lane 2, Furbank Grammar. In lane 3, Sydney University Boat Club. In lane 4, Mercantile Rowing Club and the Victorian Institute of Sport. In lane 5, Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise and the Victorian Institute of Sport. In lane 6, Sydney Rowing Club. In lane 7, Swan River Rowing Club. In lane 8, Melbourne University Boat Club.
And Mercantile go into this race as favourites. Kirsty Green, Sky Frobel, bronze medalist in the under-21 pair. Sophie Bolson, Georgie Gleeson, gold medalists in the under-21 pair. The silver medalists from the pair are in the Sydney University boat. And that's Jamie Ford and Raquel Cuvas. And they're there with Amelia Johnson and Jess Robinson of Sydney University, and Talia Barnett Heppels, the coxswain of that boat. So there'll certainly be 2 crews to watch in particular. See Mercantile in the red shorts and white top. Sydney University 1 lane further across in lane number 3.
Like right at the end, it was like cutting down, like two straws. You're fine. There's extra water up there if you want to head up to. Yeah.
We are away in the under-21 women's Cox 4. As mentioned, the favourites Mercantile, Victorian Institute of Sport in lane 4. They're also defending their title out of lane number 4 on screen, Sydney Rowing Club, having moved out 38 strokes a minute. Sydney Rowing Club crew Lauren Graham, Isabel Furrer, Crystal Piper and Lauren Lyon. And Hannah Cowap, the coxswain, and coached by Lachlan Carter, Jason Baker and Don Seck. And Melbourne University there on screen, Miller Marston, Alex Somerville. And Samantha Caday is subbed into the crew for Eliza Lawson. Georgia Lenton-Williams also in that boat with Sarah Berger. And the coxswain seat, and James Smith, the development coach at Melbourne University, in charge of that crew, having previously been at Kinross Wallaroi School and prior to that in New Zealand. James Smith, very, very experienced with developing good underage crews. As we move up towards the first 250 metres, we have on screen the combination from Mercantile. You can see there with the blue bow number in lane number 4. Having a good race with Sydney University over in lane number 3, and Griffith University Surfers Paradise VIS crew in lane number 5 also taking it out. So the 3 crews right in the centre of the course that are setting the pace here. And it is Mercantile that have just put their bow in front of the Griffith University combination, and only narrowly, and then back to Sydney University in 3rd spot, followed by Sydney Rowing Club, Swan River, Furbank Grammar, Melbourne University right on this side of the course, and then Banks right over on the far side of the course. So very, very tight between the top 3 crews as they came through the first 500 metres. So ratings pretty similar in the Griffith University Surfers Paradise and Mercantile crews, rating 33 and 34 as they start to make their way up towards 850 metres gone. Those 2 fighting out. Sydney University are in 3rd, and then followed by Sydney Rowing Club. We look to have about 3/4 of a length on the Swan River crew in 5th position. Mercantile just starting to enhance their advantage in this second 500 metres. Kirsty Green, Skylar Frobel, Sophie Bolson, Georgie Gleeson. Now just starting to move out to about half a boat length over the Griffith University Surfers Paradise crew. And then it's around about 3/4 of a length back to Sydney University. Half a length then to Sydney Rowing Club. And they're then followed by Swan River, Melbourne University, and then the 2 crews on the towards the fringes of the field over on the far side. Furbank Grammar in lane 2 are in 7th, and Banks in lane 1 are in 8th position. Screen now we have the Swan River crew, Emily Fish, Anna Gunsberg, Gigi Parker and Lauren Hutton, and now Melbourne University back on screen on this side of the course in lane number 8. They're at 33 strokes a minute in 6th position and having a good tussle with that Swan River boat right on this side of the course, and hoping that their little battle together can push them up and challenge then for 4th place with the Sydney Rowing Club crew. But at the head of the field is Mercantile and the Victorian Institute of Sport that have led, and as the race has gone on, have incrementally added to their advantage over Griffith University Surfers Paradise and the VIS, and Sydney University in 3rd spot. And Sydney Rowing Club having a pretty good 3rd 500 metres as these leading boats now approach around about 1,450 metres covered. And Mercantile now starting to move out to clear water over Griffith University Surfers Paradise. And in 3rd spot, Sydney University, a further boat length back. And so these margins now almost a length between 1st and 2nd, 2nd and 3rd, 3rd and 4th. And it started to grow then back to Swan River in 5th, Melbourne University alongside of them in 6th position. So certainly plenty to do if you're going to improve on your placings in this one, trying to make up a boat length in this last 500 metres. This polished Mercantile crew of Green, Frobel, Bolson and Gleeson with Adelaide Sester in the coxswain seat. Starboard rigged boat that are out in front. And Griffith University Surfers Paradise making a little bit of a push as they come up through the 1,750 metre mark, but it is still being controlled by Mercantile. And Sydney University there in third spot, and to be controlling that from Sydney Rowing Club in fourth position. So these top four positions all seem to be separated by a boat length or more. And coming into the last 100 metres, Mercantile Rowing Club, who were able to get out early, and Griffith University went with them through to the first 500 metres. But after that, it was Mercantile that were able to push ahead and push on, and now they will retain their under-21 Women's Cox 4 National Championship over a length ahead of Griffith University, Surfers Paradise and the Victorian Institute of Sport. Third goes to Sydney University Boat Club, and they're then followed by Sydney Rowing Club in fourth position. It's been a ding-dong battle between Melbourne University and Swan River. Melbourne University have just pushed ahead in the latter stages to claim fifth. Swan River sixth. Furbank Grammar in the green and yellow colours will be seventh, followed by Banks in eighth.
Recapping the results of race 310, the final of the under-21 Women's Cox 4. A win for the current title holder, Mercantile. In second, Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise. In third, Sydney University Boat Club. In fourth, Sydney Rowing Club. In fifth, Melbourne University Boat Club. In sixth, Swan River Rowing Club. In seventh, Furbank Grammar School. And in eighth, Banks Rowing Club. Winning time, 7 minutes 18.00. The margin 3.9 and 3.79. The presentation of medals for the Under-21 Men's Double Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Joe Joyce, President of Rowing Victoria. Third place and bronze medalists, Mercantile Rowing Club. Mitchell Hooper. Joel Kane. The crew was coached by Simon Harrison. Second place and silver medalists, North Esk Rowing Club. Joseph Wilson and Jack Barrett. The crew was coached by Trevor Barrett and Michael Wilson. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2018, Griffith University Surfers Paradise Rowing Club, supported by the Queensland Academy of Sport. Cormac Kennedy Leverett, Jackson Free. The crew was coached by Marcus Free. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate the 2018 Australian champions and medalists in the Under-21 Men's Double Scull.
Dirty thumbs up. What is that? You just went out with the thumbs up.
Race number 311, the final of the under-21 men's Coxed 4 is now in progress. In lane 1, Mossman Rowing Club and the New South Wales Institute of Sport. In lane 2, West Australian Rowing Club. In lane 3, Melbourne University Boat Club. In lane 4, Sydney Rowing Club and the New South Wales Institute of Sport. In lane 5, Melbourne University Boat Club. In lane 6, Toowong. In lane 7, Swan River. In lane 8, Adelaide University Boat Club.
It was the Sydney Rowing Club, New South Wales Institute of Sport crew that led through the first 500 metres. And Max Brenner, Clinton Boltman, Jackson Kench, Alex Nicol and Charlie Nicholas, the coxswain, coached by Don Seck, Jason Baker and Lachlan Carter and Mossman over on the far side of the course, just 1.44 seconds in arrears. West Australian Rowing Club are in third and they're second from the far side of the course. Then follows Toowong, Swan River, two crews from Melbourne University and then Adelaide University on this side of the course. But it is Sydney Rowing Club on screen. Some guys that didn't have their small boat races go as they exactly wanted, but they're at 35 strokes a minute through the 1,000-metre mark and enjoying clear water. Max Brenner, fifth in the under-21 single scull. Clinton Boltman didn't race the small boats, but he's got a 606 erg and got plenty of horsepower to add to that Sydney Rowing Club boat. Jackson Kench, part of the Australian junior team last year, and he was fourth in the pair with Alex Nicol the other day. So they're certainly looking to put this one beyond doubt in the early stages. Through the halfway mark, 4.63 seconds ahead of the Mossman New South Wales Institute of Sport crew over on the far side of the course. The Sydney crew, they're coxed by Charlie Nicholas, who's the New South Wales Wilkinson Cup coxswain. And Mossman over on the far side of the course, Peter Brongo, Bjarne Ungermak, the son of the coach Matthias Ungermak, Felix Datto, Daniel Samus, who was part of the Australian quad scull, junior quad scull last year, and Gabby Angus, formerly of Newcastle Grammar School, now at Mossman, and coached by Matthias Ungermak, no stranger to this boat, still the holder of the world best time in the Coxed 4 from 1991, the oldest in the FISA books. And they're in second spot, and Toowong have moved up ahead of Swan River and West Australian Rowing Club into third position. They're three out from the grandstand side of the course. But Sydney Rowing Club looking very much the goods here. 36 strokes a minute and Cox 4 as they come up towards the 1,500 metre mark and have a commanding lead. Toowong have moved into second spot ahead of Mossman. And then it is the first of the Melbourne University crews that's there in fifth position, followed by West Australian Rowing Club in the Cardinal and Gold, and then Melbourne University in seventh and Adelaide University in eighth position. We saw Melbourne University, one of their pairs, had a very, very strong finish in the under-21 pair to claim the silver medal, but combination out of lane number 5 are well back here, and they would need something superhuman to try and grab themselves a medal in this one. The gold medal looks like it's almost pretty safe in the hands of Sydney Rowing Club as they lead from Toowong, who have had a good back half of this race. Jethro Gifford, Chris Thompson, Morgan Appel and Benjamin Pincus, some guys there out of the Queensland Wilkinson Cup crew, and trying to hold off Swan River, who are also finishing off strongly. McQuillan, Sander, King and Gerard and Clayton Armstrong, their coxswain. And now Mossman are finding themselves under pressure now from Melbourne University with their two crews. So Mossman are being pushed back through this field, but Sydney Rowing Club with only 100 metres still to go. Max Brenner Clinton Boltman, Jackson Kench, Alex Nichol and Charlie Nicholas set to be the first one across the line in the Coxon seat. And they have dominated this under-21 men's Cox 4. And it will be Sydney Rowing Club that claim the gold medal. Silver set to go to Toowong. They've had a good second 1,000 and just ahead of Swan River, who claimed bronze. Melbourne University came flying home for 4th. Mossman grabbed 5th ahead of the second Melbourne University crew. And in 7th, West Australian Rowing Club and Adelaide University will place 8th.
Confirming the results of the final of the under-21 men's Cox 4, a win for Sydney Rowing Club and the New South Wales Institute of Sport. In 2nd, Toowong. In 3rd, Swan River. In 4th, the Melbourne University crew stroked by Tom Hooper. In 5th, Mossman Rowing Club. In 6th, Melbourne University Boat Club. In 7th, West Australian Rowing Club. And in 8th, Adelaide University. Time for that final, 6 minutes, 35.05. The presentation of medals for the Under-21 Women's Cox 4 Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Jamie Fernandez, Rowing Australia Deputy Performance Director and Olympic silver medalist. Third place and bronze medalists, Sydney University Boat Club. Jamie Ford. Raquel Cuvas. Amelia Johnson. Jess Robinson. Their Cox, Talia Barnett-Heppels. The crew was coached by Alfie Young. Second place and silver medalists, Griffith University Surfers Paradise and the Victorian Institute of Sport. Sophie Rice. Alexandra Finley. Ella Cossil. Jane Perinon. Their Cox, Lockie McTaggart. The crew was coached by Lincoln Handley, Sean Carolan and Ben Southwell. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2018, Mercantile Rowing Club and the Victorian Institute of Sport. Kirsty Green. Sky Frobel. Sophie Balson. Georgie Gleeson. Their Cox, Adelaide Chester. The crew was coached by Bridget Carlisle. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate the 2018 Australian champions and medalists in the Under-21 Women's Cox 4. Our next race is the final of the under-23 women's double scull. In lane 1, a composite of Patterson and Duggan from Banks and Mercantile. In lane 2, Guinness from UTS with Vermeesh from West Australian Rowing Club. In lane 3, a composite of Melbourne and Sydney, Caputo and Thompson. In lane 4, Zamin from West Australian Rowing Club and the West Australian Institute of Sport with Molly Booker from Swan River Rowing Club. In lane 5, a composite of Sydney University Boat Club, Parish, with ANU, Pretorius. In lane 6, Mercantile and the Victorian Institute of Sport, Bateman and Thompson. In lane 7, Essendon, Smith and Hatherley. And in lane 8, a composite of Melbourne University Boat Club, Wirtz, and Mercantile's Sibyllin.
So it was Mercantile that were leading through the first 500 metres. They're the favourites for this one. Gold and silver medalists in the under-23 women's single scull. Amanda Bateman and Rhea Thompson. And they had clear water through the first 500 metres over ANU and Sydney University. Jana Pretorius and Alina Parish. And in third is the West Australian Rowing Club, UTS crew, Adelaide Guinness of UTS, Kira Vermeesh of West Australian Rowing Club. And they're coached by Joe Tamigi and Dave Geely. And fourth, Swan River West Australian Rowing Club. Fifth, Melbourne Sydney. Sixth, Mercantile Banks. And seventh, Mercantile Melbourne University. And eighth is Essendon out of lane number 7. But it's the crew alongside them in lane 6, Mercantile, that are leading this one. Very, very handy indeed. That was one of the performances of yesterday in the under-23 scull from Rhea Thompson. Go 7.53 in what were very benign conditions. And she's leading this double scull race with Amanda Bateman, who was a silver medalist in that race. And they're at a purposeful 32 strokes a minute as they make their way up towards the 1,000-metre mark. Maria Thompson started off her rowing at Melbourne Rowing Club under David Orchard. Has moved to be coached by Simon Gadsden at Mercantile. And just moving through the 1,000 metres is the West Australian UTS crew of Kira Vermeesh and Adelaide Guinness, just ahead of Pretorius and Parish of ANU and Sydney University. Swan River West Australian Rowing Club, Sienna Zaman, the very polished sculler from West Australian Rowing Club and the West Australian Institute of Sport, is there with Molly Booker in lane number 4. Melbourne Sydney are next, Caputo and Thompson. And they're then followed by Mercantile Banks, Melbourne Uni Mercantile and Essendon will back in 8th position. So Mercantile have had great success with Simon Gadsden. He will leave at the end of the season to take up the head coach of the Victorian Institute of Sport, and he'll continue to do great things in Victoria, Simon Gadsden. And his combination, Amanda Bateman and Rhea Thompson here, have dominated this under-23 women's double scull event. Over towards the far side of the course, Vermeesh and Guinness having a good tussle with the crew from ANU Composite, and also moving through now is Swan River West Australian Rowing Club, Zaman and Booker. It's Mercantile on screen and getting a ton of run with each stroke as they move through the 1,500 metre mark. And that's a whopping lead that they have over the rest of the field. They're not even in the same screenshot, let alone the next one, but Mercantile dominant as we anticipated in this under-23 women's double scull. West Australian Rowing Club UTS in 2nd spot, and it is the Swan River West Australian crew that have moved up into 3rd. Sienna Zaman and Molly Booker. ANU, Sydney University, Parish and Pretorius, who took this race out hard, have just been pushed back into 4th spot. And then it is the crew right on this side of the course, Sibyllin and Wirtz, Gemma Sibyllin of Mercantile, Charlotte Wirtz, who won the under-21 women's scull. They're in 5th spot right on the grandstand side of the course. and followed by Mercantile, Banks, Patterson and Duggan. Caputo and Thompson of Melbourne, Sydney are in 7th, and Essendon just getting a little bit detached from the rest of the field in 8th place. Two strokes a minute on this Mercantile crew as they head into the last stretches of this race. Only around about 110 metres still to cover. They'll pass the bridge on their right, which is generally about a dozen strokes to go. And they have really put on a fine display here. Mercantile from Melbourne in Victoria. Amanda Bateman and Rhea Thompson. Gold and silver in the under-23 women's single scull, and they're going to make a gold here in the under-23 women's double scull. A fine win to Mercantile. The other crew's just in the 100-metre zone, or the last 100-metre zone of the race. Over on the far side of the course, Guinness and Vermeesh of Western Australian Rowing Club in 2nd spot, and Swan River West Australian Rowing Club have had a very, very good last 1,000, and they're going to finish about 2/3 of a length down on the silver medalists of West Australian Rowing Club and UTS. Bronze goes to West Australian Swan River, 4th to Sydney University ANU. They're then followed by Mercantile, Melbourne University in 5th, Banks, Mercantile in 6th, Sydney, Melbourne in 7th and Essendon in 8th.
Confirming the results of the final of the under-23 women's double scull. A win for Amanda Bateman and Rhea Thompson of Mercantile and the VIS. In 2nd, West Australian and UTS composite of Adelaide Guinness and Kira Vermeesh. And in 3rd, the Swan River West Australian composite of Sienna Zamin and Molly Booker. In 4th, ANU Sydney University Boat Club composite. In 5th, Melbourne University Mercantile composite. In 6th, Mercantile Banks composite. In 7th, Melbourne Rowing Club Sydney Rowing Club composite. And in 8th, Essendon. Time for that race, 7 minutes, 17.40 seconds. The presentation of medals for the under-21 men's Coxed 4 Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Jamie Fernandez, Rowing Australia Deputy Performance Director and Olympic silver medalist. Third place and bronze medalists, Swan River Rowing Club. Miles McQuillan. Tim Sander. Riley King. Ben Gerard. And their cox, Clayton Armstrong. The crew was coached by Stephen Saunders and George Zuris. Good. Second place and silver medalists to Wong Rowing Club. Jethro Gifford. Chris Thompson. Morgan Appel. Benjamin Pincus. Their cox, Jasmine Halley. The crew was coached by Kieran Dwyer and Leonidas Karadimitris. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2018, Sydney Rowing Club and the New South Wales Institute of Sport. Max Brenner, Clinton Boltman, Jackson Kench, Alex Nichol. Their cocks, Charlie Nicholas. The crew was coached by Donovan Check, Jason Baker and Lachlan Carter. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate the 2018 Australian champions and medalists in the under-21 men's coxed 4.
Get someone to carry the boat back. Yeah, I think so. No privileges in winning. That's mine. That's mine. Oh yeah. 4th, 5th, 6th. Oh, should we go reverse crew order? Tim, do you want front hand? Do you want front hand all the way there? Switch it up.
Our next race is the final of the under-23 men's double scull. In lane 2, Sydney University Boat Club. In lane 3, Mossman Sydney. In lane 4, Capital Lakes and ANU. In lane 5, Swan River and the University of WA. In lane 6, Newcastle University and Sydney Rowing Club. And in lane 7, Fremantle and Adelaide Rowing Clubs.
And a quality field in this one, the Capital Lakes ANU crew. Nathan Kennedy, who won gold in the under-21 lightweight single scull. Alex Grzeskowiak won gold in the under-21 single scull. It was a great day yesterday for ACT Rowing and their coaches Nick Garrett and Renee Domashens. And those 2 wins. And, of course, Nick Garrett also coached Tom Schramko to a great win. And the 4-time Olympic coach Nick Garrett was joking afterwards that the great finish from Tom Schramko, that having coached Grandstand Dan Noonan, that it was Grandstand Schram. So, so a very fine performance. And he edged out the Swan River UWA composite crew. So the silver medalist Sam Marsh from the under-23 scull and Fraser Pensini of the University of Western Australia Boat Club. But it is the Capital Lakes ANU crew and have led through the first 500, led through the 1,000 and leading as they come up towards the 1,500 metre mark, but still within striking distance. Fraser Pensini in the bow seat and Sam Marsh. They're only about a canvas down as they come through the 1,500 metre mark. So very, very close between these top 2 crews. In 3rd spot, we have Charlie Patterson of Sydney and Sean Murphy, who was the bronze medalist in the under-23 lightweight double scull. And those 2 are in 3rd spot, and it's a pretty handy gap back to Sydney University over on the far side. Jordan Duff, who made the final of the 23 scull, in there in the boat with Morgan Brooking, who started off his rowing at Central Tablelands. They're in 4th position. 5th, Dylan Boakes and Big Odin McIntosh of Newcastle University and Dylan Boakes of Sydney Rowing Club. And then Deans and Armstrong on this side of the course are back in 6th position. But as we get into towards the 1,750 metre mark, the big boys put their foot down. Fraser Pensini and Sam Marsh in the stroke seat in the Swan River colours. They've moved to the front ahead of the crew that have led for 3/4 of this race. It's Nathan Kennedy and Alex Grzeskowiak, and they don't have the power to match these guys, but do they have the ability to really jack up the rate in the concluding stages and mount a challenge. They're at 33.5 strokes a minute, the ANU and Capital Lakes combination, but ahead of them, Pensini and Marsh, they're at 38 strokes a minute. very, very quick at putting those blades in the water. They come into the last 70 metres and they've got clear water over the crew that had led in the early stage of this one. But it's Fraser Pensini, started off his rowing at Guildford Grammar, upriver on the Swan River, and there with Swan River Sam Marsh. They're gold medalists in the under-23 men's double scull. Silver goes to ANU Capital Lakes, Kennedy and Greskoviak, and bronze to Sean Murphy and Charlie Patterson of Mossman and Sydney respectively. Fourth to Dylan Boakes and Odin McIntosh of Newcastle University and Sydney Rowing Club. And over on the far side, Sydney University have had a good race with Fremantle for 5th and 6th. They've given that to Sydney University over Fremantle, but we'll wait for the revised times and placings on that.
So provisional results of the final of the under-23 men's double scull. A win for the composite of Swan River, University of WA and West Australian Institute of Sport crew of Fraser Pensini and Sam Marsh. In second, Capital Lakes and ANU composite of Nathan Kennedy and Alice Greskoviak from the ACT Pathways programme. And in third, the composite of Charlie Patterson from Sydney Rowing Club and Sean Murphy from Mossman Rowing Club and the New South Wales Institute of Sport. In fourth, the Newcastle Uni Sydney composite. In fifth, the Fremantle Adelaide Rowing Club composite. And in sixth, Sydney University Boat Club, West Australian Rowing Club. Molly Booker from Swan River Rowing Club. Second place and silver medalists, West Australian Rowing Club and the UTS Haberfield Rowing Club. Adelaide Guinness from UTS. Kira Vermeesh from West Australian Rowing Club. The crew was coached by Joe Tamigi and David Geely. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2018, Mercantile Rowing Club and the Victorian Institute of Sport. Amanda Bateman. Ria Thompson. The crew was coached by Simon Gadsden. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate the 2018 Australian champions and medalists in the under-23 women's double scull.